Speeding, texting while driving, road rage incidents. In the past year, we've reported on numerous dangerous incidents on Colorado's roadways, whether it's distracted driving or an intentional disruption. Community groups, state leaders, and authorities are sounding the alarm. This week on Real Talk with Micah Smith, we're talking about dangerous driving, what authorities are seeing on our roads, and our shared responsibility to keep each other safe. Welcome to Real Talk with Micah Smith. I'm your host, Micah, and I am so glad to have you with us. Back in June on Denver 7, we shared this video with you out of Wheat Ridge. It shows an altercation between two drivers in the middle of Interstate 70. One driver brake checks another. Both end up getting out of their cars. At one point, one driver punches out the back window of the other car. Then the other driver grabs what appears to be a tire iron. Eventually, both get back inside their car and drive off. Now, both drivers were cited for this. They were cited for disorderly conduct. And check out this story out of Denver. Video shows cars doing donuts, popping off fireworks, and crowding the intersection of Broadway and Mississippi. Witnesses said cars started parking along Mississippi and a nearby dirt lot before midnight one Friday night. Witnesses say cars came from all directions to participate in creating smoke and making it pretty impossible for other drivers to cross the intersection. At last check, the Denver Police Department is still searching for those involved. While the incident in Wheat Ridge and the street takeover in Denver were intentional, there's another issue taking over streets that authorities say can be unintentional at times, but just as dangerous: distracted driving. I met up with Colorado State Trooper Hunter Matthews to talk about what his agency is seeing across the state. Trooper Matthews, thank you so much for this conversation, because I know as we've been out in the community reporting, it seems like we are constantly responding to crashes, and there's usually an element of distracted driving. So what is Colorado State Patrol seeing in terms of distracted driving?
Yeah, so especially this time of year where it's the warmer months, we are seeing a lot more outrageous things that people are doing in terms of distracted driving. We have been seeing people, with the normal distracted driving things, which is the texting and driving, eating while driving, things along those lines. But as I drive down the road, I can see some women putting on makeup and driving with their knee, or a man shaving while he's just going through traffic. These are the things that we've been seeing just going throughout the year, and it's leading to a lot more crashes.
Makeup and shaving while driving.
Yes. Yeah, it's insane what people do when they try to save a little bit of time to get to work. You would think that just waking up 10 minutes earlier just to get that knocked out, and that way you can drive safely, you would hope.
In terms of enforcement, if you are caught doing these types of things, what types of penalties do you face?
Yeah, so a lot of the times people don't realize that it leads to more speeding. It leads to lane violations or weaving outside of your lane. These are all things that we see, and we can obviously see you in your rear view. So we can charge you with those, as well as just careless driving which is driving without due regard.
Yeah, I think every police vehicle, lots of officers themselves have body camera video. Can you talk to me about maybe an incident or two that you've caught on camera that was pretty outrageous?
Yeah, I previously have stopped a man who was driving a Dodge pickup, and he was shoulder to shoulder. But while he was driving, I could see him holding his phone in the rear view mirror. And when I stopped him, I talked to him about it, and he's like, yeah, I'm just trying to get to lunch with my friends. And this was back when the tickets were a little bit more aggressive and needed a little bit more in-depth details. Past that, just people driving down the road, putting on the makeup, driving with their knee. That's going to take your eyes off the road for multiple seconds, which can be hundreds of feet that you're traveling. So that's just leading to a lot more crashes.
I know we are a hands-free state in terms of you shouldn't be physically on your phone. If you are on your phone, maybe have the AirPod in or something to where you don't need your hands.
Yeah.
Since becoming a hands-free state, has that helped at all with distracted driving, or are you still seeing instances of it?
Yeah, we still do see instances of it, but a lot of citizens have been better about just ordering the phone stand. It's like $10 on Amazon. At the end of the day, that's just going to take that distraction from you, and most vehicles do have that Bluetooth capability to prevent you from even having to reach for your phone.
Yeah. But even if you are hands-free, you can be distracted.
Correct, yes. If you are constantly staring at your phone that's hanging on that device, that's still a distraction.
Yeah. Overall, it seems like distracted driving can lead to bigger issues. You mentioned kind of going shoulder to shoulder in a lane, maybe just switching lanes out of nowhere. I could imagine that could lead to other drivers getting frustrated and possibly even road rage.
Yeah, correct. We do see a lot of people that they notice that people are distracted. It's making them mad, so to speak. So it does lead to a lot more road rages and even more major incidents down the road.
Why is it important to kind of sound the alarm about distracted driving, especially if we kind of come through the end of summer months and we know more kids headed back to school, more buses out and about?
Yeah, kids are always crossing the street to try to get to their bus. And if you're on your phone for even 1 second, you're taking your eyes off of that child's safety. So at the end of the day, we're just trying to protect the citizens of Colorado and make sure that everyone can get to where they're going safely.
Because there are really serious consequences by not, right?
Correct, yes. Yeah, if you hit a kid or you hit another adult or anything like that, you can risk their life. And you can be charged for that, you can be put in jail and serve your time.
Trooper Matthews, anything else you'd like to add or say?
Yeah, if you do see someone that's driving distracted and they are ultimately, weaving in between their lanes or speeding or anything like that, dial star 277, that's star CSP. That's going to get you in contact with one of our troopers to hopefully contact that person.
Coming up, a man is hit while riding his bike, dies, and isn't found for hours. We're talking to a community advocate who is pleading for safer streets. This is Real Talk with Micah Smith. Welcome back to Real Talk with Micah Smith. On Monday, July 27th, just before midnight, Aurora police say a driver hit and killed 26-year-old Arthur Williams while he was riding his bike on South Powhatan Road. Police say the driver did not stay at the scene and Williams was found hours later. While police searched for that driver, Williams' family members and friends held a vigil to remember him and to ask for community support and help. I sat down with the CEO of the Epitome of Black Excellence and Partnership, Median Schaffner, who was at that vigil to talk about Williams and the community's calls for safer streets. Median, thank you so much for joining us for this Real Talk.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I always love doing this with you.
Yeah. Well, this episode we're talking about dangerous driving and the impact, the very real impact we're seeing in our communities. You've been advocating for a family seeking answers, a family that's been impacted in a very horrific way in terms of dangerous driving. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would say that my advocacy in the story of Arthur Williams is essentially in line with everybody else, the entire community. We have seen a community recognize that a life was tragically lost, and not only was that life lost, but the person that did it, it was a hit and run, right? So now you have a family that has to bury a child, which is unnatural. And in that process, they have to hold a grief that is unimaginable and do it without answers. And I think that's where the community is accelerating its concern, because Arthur was left on the street. He was left without any care, without a 911 call. Because his body wasn't discovered until potentially almost 12 hours later, and wasn't identified until the following day. That is a story that should grapple with everyone. All of us should turn on our advocacy in that space.
Median, how on earth does something like that happen, where someone is hit and killed, and for almost 48 hours, the family doesn't know where they are, and for almost 12 hours, his body isn't discovered?
I think there's a lot of things that are at play. We can talk about the humanity component that failed in that process. Hitting something or someone, it's never a time to go away. That's the time to face the reality and identify ways in which you can help that person. Who knows what Arthur's fate would have been if that person would have stayed. We can also talk about the way that our streets are plowed, or our streets are safe for